Welcome back, Roadies.
In today's episode, I'm going to be building the chassis and suspension for the Tamiya TT01. I've got my mechanic over here to help me out in the background, but it'll be my first build, so we'll see how it goes.
We're going to split this up and do the body on a separate video, because I don't want these videos to get too long, bore you to death. And
it'll give me some time to pick out my colors that I want to paint my body, so it'll all work out good.
That's right. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's get to it.
Here we go.
All right, so I've gone through all the trees and pulled off everything so that I can separate it out into some bins and get everything ready to go for the build. I'm hoping this will work out kind of nice. So what we did is just kind of separated each tree into its own bin. Everything actually fit in here, even these big pieces, which we did not expect to fit in there at all. We dumped out the different parts bags that we had. Everything is right here, so then as we go through the instructions, we can just pull out our pieces and parts and get it put together. So the step one I really thought was going to be easier than it was. I ended up getting the spur gear stopper stuck to the spur gear. Is that it? And put the pin in the wrong place, so initially I couldn't fit it in there. But we eventually figured that out and got it all in there, so it worked out well. Next step was easy peasy. This was just putting together the motor. The only thing I will advise is to be sure that you do it for the pinion that you're using. They can do a 19 tooth, 20 tooth, 21 tooth, or 22 tooth. I didn't realize, so I had my screws in the wrong place. Caused a little trouble there at the end for me. It made the gear sound a little clunky, but we figured it out and we were able to make that correction on there. And then it ran smooth as butter. Yeah. Got the motor cover on there. It's tied in there tight. And it all looked good. Then we got to move on to the next step, which was the differential gear assembly. Didn't really have too much trouble with this. It was pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. The instructions were good. The toughest part with this one are the teeny little screws that you have to put into the top. Those were pretty difficult to get in there because they're so small. But once I got those in there, I think we were good. And then going ahead and attaching the differential gear, that again was really easy. One of the things I will highly recommend is making sure that you have some of that bearing oil. Now here's where things got a little crazy for me in this step. We were attaching those rear arms, and it's so important. One, you need 4 hands to hold everything, but 2, to be sure that you have them on there the correct way. As you'll see here in a minute, I put them on backwards. So of course that caused a problem. So we went through the steps of going ahead and putting the rear axles together, and then we went ahead and got those ready to go, and then attaching the rear bumper, which were simple steps, but then we had to pause and go back because we could not move on to attach them because I had them backwards, and here you'll see that they looked a little bit cockeyed, so we had to start that over.
It looks cockeyed to me.
And then we were able to get all the pieces back in the right place.
Success. The screw in
And once we got that task finished, we were able to go ahead and move on. We did the differentials, put that together, got the front bumper on and the front arms on. Man, look at this one. This. The rear all done, put together. Finally got the arms on, and we got the front done. Everything seems to be working properly at this point. And now we're gonna put the shocks together. I went ahead and got the shocks put together. This was the easiest thing I did in the whole build of this vehicle. And they turned out really good. I think this has been the easiest thing of the whole thing so far. And then next, I just had to go ahead and attach those shocks that I put together to the vehicle. And it's slowly starting to actually look like a vehicle that you might be able to drive around somewhere. Once I did get all the shocks on, it was really easy. Just, dropping in a couple of screws. They went in painlessly.
I got it.
And then our next step was to go ahead and put together those steering arms, which putting together the steering arms was pretty simple. Again, you want to make sure that you have that bearing oil because that's just so helpful getting those bearings in there. And then just dropping in a couple of the screws so that you had those arms ready to go. Then after that, we went ahead and attached that front bumper. Again, this was a really simple step, just putting in a couple screws in the front of the vehicle. Once I got the front bumper attached, I was able to go ahead and start putting in those steering arms. Attaching the steering arms was pretty easy. The instructions were really self-explanatory. You just have to be real sure when you're putting those in to not tighten it too tight, because that is going to attach to your servo and take care of all of your steering for you.
It works. And nothing's broken yet.
Next, we went ahead and got all of our electronics out and in. Went ahead and attached that servo. Had to put the servo stay to it and got that in the chassis. Next, we went ahead and took the ESC, used some double-sided tape, and got that attached, as well as using the double-sided tape for the receiver, and attached the receiver just on top of the servo. Once we had that all together, then we were able to go ahead and connect those ESC and servo to the motor. The next step, which is one of the final steps to make it look like a real vehicle, was we went ahead and put the wheels together, put the wheels and the tires together. We didn't go ahead yet and glue the outside of the tires. It's one of the steps that we're still going to have to take care of. And then here, of course, the last step was actually attaching the wheels and tires to the vehicle itself. Pretty self-explanatory. This was, again, one of the easier steps to go through, but it was nice to see it coming together as a vehicle and really looking like something. So, pretty proud I made it to the last step.
Ta-da!
This thing is a disaster. We've emptied out all the parts in the parts bins, just about. Still got some of the body stuff left.
Well, I finally finished it, Roadies. I have success. I have movement. I have electronics. I did, of course, have quite a few little issues with it. Drive shaft, I had a really hard time getting that in there, only because I messed something up. And then I struggled a bit with the steering in the front, kept kind of, took it out to our local track, got some help from the guys out there, realized I put something in backwards, so got that fixed, so that helped out a lot. And I had my mechanic with me.
Yeah, that was a big deal. It helped out a lot. Got us back on the right track and got our steering working. Also got us the right battery for it, ready to start working on the body soon.
I haven't picked out my colors yet. Looking forward to doing it, but I did it. I got it together and it actually worked. Time for these roadies to recharge.